You ever watch those couples, the ones who've been together ages, and just wonder, what is their secret? Seriously, we see all the shiny beginnings, right? But what actually keeps people connected, like truly connected through all the ups and downs?
It's a huge question. And the material we're looking at today, it comes at it from a really, well, almost counterintuitive angle, would you
Wait,
say?
totally. It suggests that maybe, just maybe, the people who really get relationships aren't always chasing the person who, lights up the room conventionally.
Right.
Instead, they might be drawn to someone who's maybe been a bit overlooked. The source actually calls them the ugly duckling.
Which sounds a bit harsh, maybe, initially.
It does.
Yeah.
And let's be super clear. This isn't about being mean or judging looks. Not at
I
all.
don't know.
It's more about digging into relationship dynamics, value, what makes love actually last. So that's what we're going to unpack.
Exactly. It's about that core idea of relationships as an exchange. You give, you receive, emotionally, mentally, sometimes physically.
Right, and back and forth.
A healthy partnership really needs that balance, that give and take, to thrive. It just won't work long term otherwise.
And the source makes this really sharp point about people who've maybe always relied, primarily on their looks. Imagine like getting constant compliments just for existing, doors opening easily, always having people vying for your attention.
It could definitely shape your perspective.
Right. The source kind of hints that maybe subconsciously the belief becomes my looks are my contribution. So they might not have flexed those other relationship muscles as much, the giving, the nurturing.
That's a really critical point because for the person with them, initially, there's probably a thrill, right? Being with someone so desired.
For sure. Status, maybe?
Could be. But what happens, when life gets real and that initial shininess wears off a bit?
Yeah, exactly. Because beauty, well, it becomes familiar, doesn't it? Like anything amazing, you get used to it.
You normalize it.
Yeah, normalize it. And then, bam, life happens. Money, stress, family drama, just the daily grind.
Yeah.
And if that balance isn't there, if it feels one-sided, that's when resentment can really creep in. One person feels like they're doing all the heavy lifting.
While the other maybe expects admiration to be enough.
Yeah. So maybe the first key thing here is that just coasting on looks can actually get in the way of developing those crucial partnership skills.
It makes perfect sense. Which brings us neatly to the flip side, doesn't it?
Yeah.
The potential strength you find in people who haven't always had that easy validation. The ones who are maybe overlooked.
The ugly duckling, yeah. Maybe they weren't the prom king or queen. Maybe they were shy or nerdy or just different.
And think about what that experience might cultivate. If you're not getting attention for your appearance, you often have to develop other ways to connect, right?
Work on your wit, your humor.
Or your intellect, your ability to listen, your empathy. You build character.
You have to. It becomes how you find your worth, how you form bonds. It's not just handed to you.
Precisely. And this builds that emotional intelligence, understanding people, really hearing them. And often, as these individuals mature, something really interesting happens.
What's that?
Well, that inner confidence starts to bloom. And maybe when they find someone who genuinely sees them, appreciates all those inner qualities.
Ah, okay.
They can really step into their own skin, embrace their sensuality maybe, in a way that feels really authentic, not performed.
So the second big idea is sometimes being overlooked forces you to build this incredible inner foundation, real strength.
Deep and lasting strengths. Yeah. Humility too, maybe. Kindness, self-awareness without being self-absorbed. They know relationships take effort.
Because they've had to put in the effort.
Yeah.
Likely. They understand it's a two-way street. They're not waiting to be served or just admired. They're ready to build something together.
Which ties directly into the third point, really, this contrast between, well, fleeting beauty and enduring qualities.
Because time, well, it catches up with everyone, doesn't it?
Yeah, it absolutely does. Gravity, wrinkles, gray hair. It's the package deal of living.
And the source points out, if your whole identity, your whole sense of value was wrapped up in your youthful looks, well, that's a shaky foundation when things inevitably change.
It can lead to a lot of insecurity, maybe even bitterness, as that primary source of validation starts to fade.
Whereas someone who built their worth on character, on kindness, loyalty, intelligence, they've got something solid to stand on.
Exactly, because when life throws you curveballs, job loss, illness, family crises, you name it, beauty isn't going to solve the problem.
Not even close.
What you need then is that character, that empathy, that person who will show up and support you, who has your back. That's the stuff that matters.
So the third insight is really about focusing on substance over surface. Enduring qualities are what sustain a relationship, not just initial attraction.
It's not about settling for the ugly duckling. That misses the whole point.
Right. It's about choosing someone real. Someone who gets that love as an action. It's about showing up, putting in the effort consistently.
And someone who understands what it feels like not to be the center of attention is probably far less likely to take genuine connection for granted.
Oh, absolutely. They appreciate being truly seen.
They value partnership over just being worshipped.
Yeah.
And that brings us to that lovely swan metaphor the Source uses at the end.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I like that.
The person who maybe felt overlooked can actually blossom into this incredibly beautiful partner, not just physically, perhaps, but beautiful because of their depth, their spirit, the strength of the bond you build together.
A beauty that grows rather than fades,
Yeah.
rooted in something real.
Exactly. A unique and deeply valued connection.
Okay, so pulling it all together,
Yeah.
what we sort of explored here, based on this perspective, is that maybe the most powerful, lasting attraction isn't just about that initial visual spark. It's often found in deeper qualities, character, empathy, resilience, and in finding someone who truly understands that relationships are about mutual effort, about give and take.
Often, those qualities shine brightest in people who maybe had to cultivate them because they weren't just handed attention on a silver platter.
Right. It makes you think.
It really does. And maybe that's the takeaway question for you listening. What qualities do you place the most value on in your own relationships? When you think about what truly sustains them, what keeps them strong over the long haul, what is it?
Definitely something to chew on. Well, if you found this deep dive into attraction and what makes love last interesting, definitely follow us for more insights as we keep exploring these kinds of ideas.